Hello there, everybody. I hope you've all had a wonderful work week. So, OpenAI announced their new product this week, and well, at least they didn't crush your favorite emoji as part of their rollout. But it was the week of new product announcements in the world of AI, and both OpenAI and Google made big waves at their respective events. OpenAI hosted its spring update this week, and it brought the magic as they promised to by announcing a number of new improvements to the ChatGPT ecosystem. In a studio set right out of the 1970s Merv Griffin talk show era, well, the company announced everything from a new model that is now fully multimodal, meaning it can analyze images, video, and speech, to a new desktop app and some other features that we'll get to in just a bit. Interestingly, Google was feeling a bit cheeky as well, and on Tuesday, literally during OpenAI's event, Google previewed a new Gemini feature that leverages the camera to describe exactly what's going on in the frame and to offer spoken feedback in real time, just exactly like what OpenAI was showing off. Their Google I/O 2024 event happened the day later on Wednesday and interestingly covered very similar ground as OpenAI did with new features, visualizations, and a number of other features, although their demos weren't nearly as cute or done on a Merv Griffin set. So what does all this AI news mean for marketers and content? Well, perhaps the most interesting thing in both OpenAI's and Google's announcements wasn't what the new features were, but what wasn't spoken of at all. You want to know a little more? Well, let's chat. This is a few minutes of what's new in marketing that might help you lead your business. You know, like having ChatGPT sing us a lullaby.
And so Byte found another robot friend, and they lived circuitly ever after.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all. Let's go ahead and roll. Hello everybody, Robert Rose here with What's New in Marketing. It is what's new in marketing, but most importantly, it's something important in marketing that we may think help you be a better leader. And if we can help you or your team with content marketing services, including custom training or consultation or ongoing implementation of your content marketing approach, get on over to contentmarketinginstitute.com, fill out that form, and let's have a talk. So, okay, this week, OpenAI launched its newest update to the ChatGPT ecosystem, and they're calling it ChatGPT 4o. Apparently, the O stands for Omni, which is also a clue about some of the biggest new features that came out. The team announced that the new, more efficient GPT-4o model will power the free and paid versions of the new ecosystem, which is good news for those who have free accounts at the moment. The multimodal idea, which is now going to power a new voice activation system, and it's much more human-like. I mean, it can express real emotions much more effectively and, well, as you heard at the top of the show, even sing to you. And it's much faster in response as well. And you can even interrupt it in the middle of speaking, making the conversation much more interactive and, well, human-like. The new ChatGPT desktop app will also be launching with both a voice and vision capability. There are a number of implications to all of these new use cases, like real-time translations for conversations, as well as giving the ability for multiple people to interact with the application in real time. And then, well, simultaneously, Google announced its own updates to Gemini, their AI ecosystem, and then the very next day at their I/O conference, offered much of the same news that OpenAI did, a new multimodal capability as well as vision systems, some impressive demos as they walked around a room asking Gemini to locate things. But Google also did what Google does and added in features that integrate with email and document creation and integration with their Android operating system. All in all, really interesting and a very different idea. I mean, it's starting to become much clearer about where each company is going with their AI ideas. But what does that mean for marketers? Well, in a word, right now, not much. To me as a marketer, the interesting thing here wasn't what was announced, it's in what wasn't announced. As late as May 10th, Friday of last week, there were reports saying that OpenAI was going to develop a web search feature for ChatGPT to compete with Google and web search, and that they were planning on announcing this web search at the event they held the day before Google's. So they wanted to do that so they would upstage them. Well, they didn't. And Google? Well, Google did comment on web search, but the announcement was that they're now going to roll out the AI at the top of the search results. You know, you've seen some of those things if you've been part of their quote-unquote beta test, that same AI tool that many of you have seen. Well, basically everybody is going to get this by the end of the year, and That wasn't, it's not surprising. I mean, given that they kind of have to move in this direction based on, where the competition is, but it's also really not anything new either. And neither of them really touched on how this would affect businesses and the idea of being found online or marketing or business-related features. Now, you might argue that by updating the latest learning model to December of 2023 and by making the new model free for everybody, that, well, OpenAI has ostensibly made a free version of search through AI available, but they never called it web search and they didn't really position it that way, nor are they really thinking of marketing it that way. What's clear in both the OpenAI announcement and the Google announcement is that they're both really seeing AI as a personal service, integrated into the mobile experience as an individual helper, something that is meant to make someone, not some business, more effective in interacting with information. Now, Google, as I mentioned, did talk about their API as well as their developer tools and talked about integration into their Office and also talked about how they would use AI to help people build mobile apps. But again, the focus here was really on the individual and personal services. So what does that mean? Well, I don't think it means anything yet necessarily. We're going to have to wait and see. But I am intrigued by how the two biggest players at the moment are really trying to consumerize AI and make it something that non-technical consumers want to play with and use rather than on making it a MarTech tool for businesses. Are, of course, smaller players here that are integrating AI into their MarTech tools like Salesforce and HubSpot and Microsoft and, even Google, which, they talked about at their launch event where they may actually have an edge in their Office applications and creating PowerPoints and Google Sheets and all those kinds of things. But they're doing it on the bigger platforms. But again, for the most part, these all feel like personal productivity enhancements rather than integrated team-focused tools. Where does this latest wave of announcements from Google and OpenAI leave pure-play AI companies that are focusing on making marketing teams better? Is it possible that AI is simply best served to individuals as a personal service and not teams as an integrated platform? Will these more enterprise-level companies get stuck in a hard place between existing tools with AI features like Microsoft 365 or Google Workforce or all of those, or big AI companies with these personal services? It's going to be a really interesting summer to watch all of this indeed. But, and here's the punchline, I suppose, it all convinces me more and more and more that as businesses want to integrate generative AI into their marketing processes, it's not about just buying some off-the-shelf tool or letting people use ChatGPT personally or doing nothing at all. It's about applying your process, your workflow, and your use cases across those teams and figuring out, understanding first, then figuring out where those features are best served by what kind of tool. That will be how we all get to have our own Merv Griffin set and demo to our bosses how AI can change the world of marketing and business. And that, well, that's a few minutes of what's new in marketing. Remember, it's your story to tell. Ask ChatGPT to sing you a song about it. Then go do all the work you need to do to fix your marketing operation and tell it well. I'll see you next week.